I personally dealt with, and I know a lot of people do too, and I feel like we don't stress enough about it. If someone's like physically sick and they're unable to go to work or school, it's excused, but if someone's mentally not feeling well, it's people don't see it as an excuse, you know. So I feel like it should be stressed more, and I feel like millennials are more stressed than a lot of people in the past. I actually just watched something where they said millennials are more stressed and like diagnosed with more depression and stuff because of social media. I feel like just the pressure of seeing models or things like that makes people self-conscious, make people feel like they're not good enough. And I feel like a lot of people on Instagram post pictures of them being happier, them being in a happy relationship, but they don't really know what's behind it, you know? So it's like, it's just a front, I guess, of what you want people to think of you and you want people to see. So I feel like that affects it a lot because you think everyone has a good life and you don't, but it's, you know, everyone's struggling somehow. I used to care about likes and comments and like who followed me and how many followers I had. I feel like a lot of people would be lying if they say they didn't at one point, but I used to feel like that meant everything and that kind of like defined my status, I guess. But now I came to accept that that doesn't mean anything. I feel like it's really hard for me to socialize with people because a lot of my mental health is who I am, and I feel like a lot of people don't understand that. So if one day I'm not feeling good, even for no particular reason, people don't understand that, and a lot of people aren't open-minded as you think. I'm pretty open-minded, and I just assume people are like me, but in reality, not everyone's gonna understand you. So I feel like it's really hard to connect with people, to have people understand me, because I feel like if you want to make good friends, you have to have a connection, and if you don't have it, then it's kind of just one-sided, where you're there for them and they can't really be there for you. My family, in the beginning, so my parents like migrated from Asia, so their struggle in life was feeding everyone in the family, with survival, was not getting shot when they were like, you know, seen on the spot when they were fleeing the country. It was life or death. And so when they came to America and I had these mental issues, they didn't see it as a problem because it wasn't a problem for them, and it was something small to them, and it was something that if you can't see it, then it's not a problem type thing. But over the years, they started understanding more because they saw how bad it was. But it had to get to the point where I ended up in the hospital for them to care about me. But now it's like they understand now, and like they're way more open-minded. But it took years. It took a lot of years to get to where we are. So now they're really supportive. They're really understanding. They try a lot. And I'm really blessed to have them. So yeah, it affected like outside because I feel like the pressure they put on me too. A lot of the stuff they wanted for me, I took it to heart a lot. So when I was in school and I didn't get a B, or like if I didn't get an A, if it was a B, I would beat myself up about it. It was kind of home, but it was like outside of home. The way they like taught me how to grow up too, they weren't really affectionate. Growing up in an Asian household, they don't tell you I love you, they don't tell you that you're doing good, they don't hug you, they don't kiss you, like none of that. And so like I feel like social wise I was kind of awkward because a lot of the things that were normal for other people I didn't grow up with, and so that really took a toll on my mental health because those are the things you need in your life. There needs to be a balance between like affection with words of affirmation and things like that. And so I feel like for one of my diagnoses, I have borderline personality, and a lot of that I can go in depth with that, but it's too much. But one of the main things is finding validation in other people. And so I ended up dating a lot of guys that I knew were toxic, that I knew were bad for me, but I stayed anyways because I felt like I needed them to love me, I needed them to like me, and if they didn't, then I wasn't good enough. And so I felt like that really took a toll on me, and when things ended bad, I would blame myself, even though I knew deep down it wasn't my fault and I deserved better. But it was really hard for me to accept that. So a lot of that really impacted my life because I have been in a couple relationships, but most of them were really toxic, and it took a toll on my mental health, and it really dragged me down. So a lot of my friends then and now, I feel like changed my life for better and worse. A lot of the friends I had back then, like I realized they weren't friends. I got out of the hospital and a lot of them left me because because I was too depressed or I was, they didn't understand. And so like I thought at one point like I was too hard to love. I was too hard to be friends with. I was a burden. I really felt that. But I realized like later on that those aren't real friends, that friends don't make you feel like that. So a lot of my friends now, a lot of the people in my life now, family-wise, friends-wise, co-worker-wise, like a lot of those people, they make me feel like I actually have a reason to be here. They make me love life. They put me first for once, and they make me feel like I matter. Like I never doubt that I matter when I'm around them. So back then, I used to do a lot of drugs, I admit, but a lot of people cope with it differently. Now, I'm kind of still like recovering from like the last time I was in the hospital, which was like 2 months ago. So I'm starting to do a lot of things I used to love again. Because when you're depressed and like you have a lot going on, you just want to be in your room. You just want to lock your door and just sleep all day, or you just don't want to do anything. You have no motivation. But now I do the simple things that matter. I bake, I play music, I write poetry, anything to have an outlet for me, anything to distract me, even just for a split second. Even when I don't feel like being around people, I force myself to, because I know if I don't, I'm just going to dig myself a deeper hole. I talk to my parents, my friends. I just learned over the years that I have to do anything but keep it inside, because that just makes it worse. It sounds so cliche, but it does get better. I feel like a lot of people say that time heals, but it's not time itself, it's what you do within that time. So if you're in a bad spot, if you're depressed, if you have anxiety, if whatever problem you may have in life, if you just leave it as is, if you don't do anything about it, then it won't get better. But if you do anything in that time, that's when time really does heal. And don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of people, I feel like a lot of guys too, they have like such a stereotype to be a man. But what does it mean to be a man, Like, I feel like everybody should ask for help, everybody should be vulnerable. And I feel like if everyone held a hand out to hold, no one would need a hand, So it's kind of like, another thing too, it's just to be kind. Like, you're going through stuff too, like, I don't know, you might not know what people are going through, so like, if you just compliment someone, if you open the door for somebody, that can make somebody's whole day. And like, just be mindful, just be open-minded. Everyone's going through a situation, and don't assume everybody's like you. Just kind of, everyone, like someone who's depressed like me, I'm not gonna understand their situation. We're both depressed, but I'm not gonna understand them. I will to a certain extent, but not fully. So yeah.
Mental wellness is something that is in today's society a lot, and I think it's something serious and that we shouldn't take lightly, and we should be talking about it way more. I think social media affects mental wellness because everyone is on social media these days, and people are posting negative and positive things on social media, but sometimes it is negative, and sometimes that negative can affect someone's like mental wellness and their thought of being. And I think people should just stay positive on social media rather than negative. I would say sometimes I would do that, but I would not make someone else feel down about themselves on social media. I would post like something or watch something funny on like YouTube or Instagram, but I do not always rely on social media for my mental wellness. I feel like school is a big factor on some people's, and especially mine, mental wellness, because school is so stressful sometimes, and it can put a lot on your plate at once, and you do not know how to handle it sometimes, and you just stress out, and you feel like you don't have anywhere to go because you have to do it. You have to do school, you have to get the work done. And I think having friends and family and teachers that you were close to, go like talk to them. Like if you can't keep up with the work or you're not going to be able to get stuff done on time, you would go to them, and I feel like that would help a lot. My family has played a very big role because my dad has always been a part of my life and has always been there for me. Even though I don't like telling him everything, he is always just there to listen, and even puts a smile on my face or tells me a joke while I'm having a bad day. And I think he is just a good example for being positive all the time, because I never see him down. And my sister is always making me laugh, even though I don't see her a lot. She's constantly texting me and FaceTiming me and seeing how I am, and that really means a lot to me. Family, if you do not have a good connection or just relationship with your family, it does really affect how you feel, because family is someone you can always go to, and when you feel like you can't go to them for something, then you kind of feel lost and you don't like have anyone to go to. And I feel like that would affect someone's mental wellness. It's not mine though, because my relationship with my family is pretty great, but I can see, and I've seen other family relationships that have just not been good, and they feel like they don't have anyone to go to. Definitely past relationships I've learned from my mistakes, honestly. It's like friends, just you don't think you need them in your life anymore, and you kind of have to get rid of them, and you learn from them. Like sometimes you choose the wrong friends and they do not put a positive feel in your life, and just family relationships as well. If one has broken, and that's worse than a friend, is family, anything. But having bad friendships and family relationships really make you learn and shape you to who you are and how you deal with these situations. I would especially just talk to someone, or if I really am not in the mood to make up a conversation, I will just be by myself and maybe look at some like things to keep me positive. That's when I'll watch like a YouTube video, or that's when I'll just think to myself, or I like cleaning when I'm stressed out or I'm not having a good day. I do something to keep me busy. I don't like doing nothing. And I would definitely go and talk to my friends or my family if they're around, or just shoot a text to someone that I haven't texted in a while. And that always makes me feel good, because most of my friends and family are always there for me. I would like to say that you're not alone, and it is very important for you not to take this as an easy thing, and don't feel like you can't go to anyone, because I can guarantee someone will always be there for you, whether you know them or not, or if you just need to talk to someone, there's always someone around. And there's nothing that will like stop you from being who you are. Like, don't stop doing what you love if someone doesn't love it. And if you think that you're not going to be able to do it anymore, you can, because I've gone through a lot too, and I'm still here. And I think anyone and everyone should have someone to talk to if they are really in this needed situation.
To me, mental wellness is one of the most important things you can do. We talk about physical wellness, we talk about needing to take care of our bodies. To take care of our mind is something that people don't do enough. I know for me personally, if I don't spend time reflecting and thinking on my own experiences, and again, kind of what's going on inside of myself, that affects not only my mind, it affects my relationships, it affects the people around me. I think that's true for everyone. If you're not aware of your mental health, or your mental wellness, then you're going to start to go down roads you don't want to go down. I don't rely on social media to make myself feel better or to for my mental wellness. What I do think about social media, I'd be lying if I said when I posted something and someone liked it, when it gets a positive response, I'd be lying if I said it didn't make me feel good. But I don't rely on it to be kind of my primary way of viewing my self-worth. For me, when I was in school, I was never had huge groups of friends, but I always had a core group of 5 people that I was really close with. So for me, my social circles in school helped my mental health, just because it gave me people that were nearby that I could talk to. I say within those 5, maybe I had 2 friends that I could really sit and talk about what was going on, how I was feeling. And I think having friends outside of your family, outside of your kind of immediate people that you live with, to have friends that can listen to you and you can process with, for me in high school and college was huge. It was essential for my mental health to have people that I could process life with. So that's how it looked for me, was a small group of friends. For me, growing up, my family was really helpful with my just mental wellness. We didn't talk about it a whole lot. It wasn't a subject that my parents talked about a lot, but I knew that I was always had a safe place at home. I could always talk with them if something was going wrong. If I was going through a bout of depression, if something was going on at school, I felt like I had people that I could talk to. And if I said that I was, in high school I dealt with some depression, and still do, but I always felt like I had someone that I could talk to that wouldn't look at me and say, well, you just need to get over it, or you just need to feel better. So that way, growing up, my family was helpful, and now my family is still helpful. My wife is someone that I process the most with. We're together all the time, so when something is difficult or we're struggling with something, again, we have someone with me all the time that I can talk to and open up with. Know that I won't be judged when I start talking about my experiences and how I'm feeling, and she'll ask me questions and help me to process that. So that's, for me, that family has always just been there to ask questions and to support through any kind of problems that I've been going through, and that's attributed a lot to my mental wellness. My past relationships have both been beneficial to my mental wellness, and they have been detrimental to my mental wellness, right? I have had friends and family that have supported me, talked through things, who were there to listen to me and process things. I've also had people that their personality just clashed with mine, and when we would try to be together and work together, specifically in a work situation, when we would try to work together, I found I was always just feeling bad after my interactions with this person. And later on I realized our expectations for each other were different. How we viewed our relationship was different. And I think in my past relationships I realized there are some people that will help you and support you, and the fact is some people will see things differently, and if you're not careful, that can be hurtful to you and how you're feeling and living your life. People affect how I view the world all the time and my outlook on life. I've had friends that have dealt with serious addictions and suicidal thoughts, and having friends close to me deal with that has kind of opened my mind to what mental health means, but also kind of the type of people that deal with it. They've helped me to be aware of their situation, and also make me more thankful for my own situation and to see the good in my life. In my relationship with my wife, we're both different personalities where I can be more easygoing. She feels passionately about things. The world is a little bit more black and white. And in that relationship, I start to realize that you need to care about things and you need to stand up for things that you believe in. And so I think that just being around people who think differently or who have had different experiences than I have always affects how I view the world. So for me, when I haven't been okay, when I've gone through depression, when I've just felt like I've been in a dark place, my natural inclination, and I think a lot of people's natural instinct, is to shut down. You don't want to talk to people about it. You just kind of want to curl up, and the motivation to handle it goes away. And I've learned the times where I've gotten over it and have been helped through that was when I did open up. I've found often that when I've opened myself up just to talk to someone about what was going on, whether that was a family member, a close friend, whatever it was, when I opened up to them, I started to feel better. And that's the biggest thing. I think in dark times, my instinct is shut down, and that's the exact opposite of what you want to do. And I've also had times where I've been on some medication for depression stuff. So it gets to that point as well where it's people hearing you and people being around to support you. And then there's also times where another step is needed, where there's something that actually needs to happen with medication. So both, I think, are really important, and for people to kind of understand that both of those might be necessary. It might be one, it might be the other. But that's how I've done both of those, and both have been helpful. People struggling with mental health, I would say, talk to someone about it. I know that can feel like the hardest thing to do, and you wonder if people judge you for it. But the fact is, more people than everyone deals with something. The level of it might be different, but everyone is dealing with hurts and pains. Everyone can relate to being in a bad place to some degree. And I think if you can find people that you're comfortable opening up with and people to support you, even if that might be something, even if you want to close yourself off, even if you want to say, I don't want to hear what other people have to say, I think we need to be in community with each other, and you need to learn about yourself. You need to find people who can help you learn who you are, how your experiences have shaped you, and start to kind of get to the root of the problem. And usually getting to the root of mental illness means that you really have to try to understand, who am I? Why am I this way? What's made me this way? And once you really start to understand yourself, you can start to work on yourself. But that takes support, that takes people being with you, and it takes you being brave enough, even if you don't feel brave in the moment, to reach out and ask people to help you with that. And for you to be willing to do the work of digging into your own heart and mind as well. But everyone does. Everyone deals with it, so I would say don't be afraid to share that with people.
I think for me, mental wellness means taking care of yourself like somebody might take care of their body. Like, you know, we all know somebody, or personally do have a gym membership. A lot of people, will go work out before work in the morning or before school, or do laps on the track just to get their body, fit. And, every spring it's beach season, but not a lot of people really think about mental health in the way that they think of their body. I think it's really important to really focus on your brain, whether that's reading books or seeing a counselor or just really paying attention. I think mental wellness and mental health are, one and the same. Mental wellness to me is extremely important. I have growing up, I had a really hard childhood. And since then, life hasn't been very easy. So, mental wellness is something that I've had to really pay attention to. I've struggled with depression for most of my life, and just some other, deep-rooted issues, some might say, but and it's just important to me to stay on top of those things. I see a counselor, I take antidepressants, and I really try to read as much as I can. I try to focus on making time for myself and doing things I want to do. I have a son and I have a wife. I have a bunch of kids that I love at youth group, and I just want to make sure that I'm the best me for myself and for everybody else. Because if I'm not the best me, then they're not getting what they need. I think social media can be a good thing and a bad thing for our mental well-being. I think it's a great way to stay in touch with others, and a great way to just connect and there's a lot of good things that social media is around for, and it does for us. But I think we've heard the term, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, or keeping up with the Joneses. I think social media is unfortunately a really good way to compare yourself to others. Take the 2016 presidential election and how social media played into that. Everybody was, polar this and polar that. There's no middle ground. I feel like we can do that with anything. It just seems like social media really magnifies things. And if somebody, I think, struggles mentally, let's say they don't have a very good self-image, and all they're doing is, being on Instagram and seeing all these pictures of, people that they think are better looking, or people that they think have better lives than them, and they're comparing themselves. It's really easy to get down when, everybody struggles. They might not just post it on social media. I think it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. It really depends on how people use it. I think I would love to say no. I would love to say that I'm this awesome human being that's above social media and doesn't let it affect me. But in reality, we're all human. We're social beings. I don't think I rely on social media to make me feel better about myself, but if I post a picture on Instagram and it gets a certain amount of likes, or a friend posts a picture where I think I look good in, and a lot of people comment and say, "Oh yeah, you look good," things like that. It does build you up. I wouldn't say I rely on it, but I can say that it definitely has an effect on me. Family, for me, plays a big role in my mental wellness. I think the first thing that comes to mind is pretty much a lot of the counselors that I've seen in the past for depression, which is one of the things that I've struggled with for a long time. Some of the questions are kind of the stereotypical therapist questions like, well, when you were young, how did your parents treat you, this, that, and the other thing. Definitely growing up, I think it played a big role in the things that I struggle with today. Like I've mentioned, growing up was kind of hard. But on the flip side of things, I have a wife and a son now, and they're great. I mean, my wife is a wonderful, just a wonderful woman. She builds me up. She's a great partner. She is just somebody that I cling to and I really hold dear to because she's my best friend. And that helps, she's somebody I can rely on when things get hard. She's somebody I can celebrate with when things are good. She's up here with me when I'm here, and she's down here with me when I'm here. Family has been a negative thing and a real positive thing for my mental health in my life. Past relationships have definitely had they've had effects on my mental wellness. I can think of, for example, I had a boss years back who was he was just not a good guy. Everything was always negative with him. It was kind of why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Things aren't good enough. So that that didn't really help. It didn't make work a good place to be. I've had relationships with friends in high school that really were just real solid guys. They built me up. We built each other up, and that was a positive thing for my mental health. In fact, I'm 29, and just last weekend, my best friend since third grade got married, and I was the best man in his wedding. We all stay really close, and that's been great for mental wellness. I can think of girlfriends that I've had in the past that have been a roller coaster of mental wellness. The ups, the downs that go with typical high school relationships. Nothing against high schoolers, you in particular. You're a great guy. But there's just a lot of ups and downs. I think it's important. This is a lesson that I've learned. I think it's important when you're in a relationship, whether it be a friendship, a relationship with a boss, worker, boss employee, I should say, worker, coworker, girlfriend, boyfriend, romantic, platonic, any kind of relationship. I think it's important that one, you focus on yourself a little bit. You don't become the other person, and two, you just try to not let everything hinge on the other person's words and actions. I think that's a way to stay healthy in a relationship. I think the people that are in my life right now have affected my outlook on life. I can think of, I'll use my wife as an example again. When I met my wife, I was going through a real rough spot. This is, 10 years ago or so. And when I met her, she was just this great angel, this positive force for good in my life. And she has since helped direct my outlook on life into something a lot more positive. I think of some coworkers that I have that on a daily basis, we just have this banter back and forth and we joke. That makes things positive. I think my friends that I have, they affect my outlook on life. But I think one of the biggest ones for me, the biggest relationship that I have that affects my outlook on life is my son. He's 2. He's a little rascal, but it's hard to look at him and not be hopeless, not be unhappy. Even when he does something that I'm upset with, I have to smile and be happy, and that really helps my outlook on life because we live in such a world where everything is just so negative at times, and it can be so easy to get down and depressed. And I think When I get sad, I think of my son. I think, oh, I have the coolest kid in the world. And that helps. I can think back to a period in my life where I was mentally unwell, extremely. Things happened in my life that I had no control over, and I just wasn't in a good spot. I wasn't focusing on mental wellness. I wasn't focusing on really my faith, things that were important to me. I just got down, and it was just this downward spiral, deeper and deeper. I isolated. I stopped answering the phone when friends would call. I didn't reach out for help. I was barely eating. And when I look in the mirror, I was just this skinny, shallow person. My eyes were sunk in. And this was about 8 years ago or so. So right after I turned 21, and I started drinking a lot. And that was just unhealthy. I didn't sleep well because of that. There were relationships that I had that were more or less ruined. It was just a real unhealthy thing, and digging myself out of that was a long road, a hard road. And I can thankfully say I'm in a much better place now, and I don't want to go back there. It's a scary, lonely place, but it's a place that I know now many people have been. So if somebody's in that place, it's easy to feel like you're the only one, struggling, which is what I felt like. But in reality, it's a much more common thing, and it's terrifying. It really is. In a situation, if I had a friend that was really struggling, a friend or an acquaintance who was really struggling with mental wellness, I think the biggest thing that I could convey, that I would hope that I would be able to convey, is that they're not alone. Mental illness, and I hate to use the term, mental illness, because there's such a negative connotation when you say that, because it's such a common thing. Somebody dealing with depression or addiction or suicidal tendencies, things that are really connected mentally like that. They're much more common than it would seem in the world. So I think the biggest thing is you're not alone. Even on the darkest of days, even in the darkest of places, there's always light. The sun will come up tomorrow, even though it might be a cloudy, stormy, rainy day. The sun will come up. You might have a long road in front of you. That's going to be hard, and things might get worse before they get better. Things will get better. I would hope that I would prepare myself a little bit more before this, but I would love to tell them just of stories where people were down, on their luck, and things got better. I'd share my own story of mental illness. And yeah, I would just try to encourage them to look, as hard as it may be, just look up for help.
Mental wellness means a quality of life. I think it's important. I think that if I look back through my life experiences, I can look back on many situations where it's evident that if people do not take care of themselves and if they do not achieve a balance, that it generally really negatively affects their quality of life, and it also affects the people around them. And I believe for myself, it's something that is a goal of mine, not to be that person that would hurt other people because they don't have it. I think that in some ways it has broadcast it more. It's made it a lot more of an issue that people discuss. I also think that it has become a platform for people that are seeking to fill a need or a hole. And they probably could better seek that and actually have real relationships on the negative, right? So positively, it brings awareness. Negatively, I think sometimes it's just an attention seeker, and I wonder if it keeps the people that actually need help from getting help. I grew up in a family where there was a lot of bipolar, and they refused to medicate themselves. So living in an environment like that was very, very difficult. And I think through most of my early adulthood, it was my biggest fear that I would do that to my children. And I used to ask my doctor every year if I had it yet, because I wanted to make sure to medicate myself. So how does it play a role? I guess it gave me a drive to provide a better life for my family and to make sure that if I ever needed assistance, that I would seek it out rather than to allow those around me that I love to suffer. I think it's one of those things that you often don't realize until you are away from the situation. But if I look back to circumstances and people that I went to school with, you would learn later, like, wow, I really thought that person was just mean, and why did they think that they were so amazing and awesome, and why are they awful to people? And then I learn about the home that they lived in and how there wasn't mental health there and how much they probably were struggling behind the scenes, and they acted that out in school, right? And so I think that if you would look at a lot of the kids that are struggling, I bet you would find a lot of that in their home. I think it's a matter of being aware of what's going on and being willing to be honest with yourself and address it. So I've had situations, whether it's professional, personal friendship or family situations, where as through life, as you grow and as you mature, and as you, I think, really become more self-aware, and you are brave enough to acknowledge what you see in the mirror, you can weed out those relationships. I think that when you don't, you find yourself going back to the same thing. Like, why do I always find people that treat me this way? Or you know what I mean? Like, you can ask those questions, and it's not until you really self-evaluate that you can go, wait a minute, I'm actually feeling a hole in my life. That's why I let people do this to me, or whatever. It's probably take a nap. Because sometimes you really are just tired. Like, you're not able to make great decisions. If it's not something like that, where I'm like, I just need to take a break. And it's self-care, like, right? It really can be a nap. It can be a bath. It can be a bottle of wine. It can be taking a weekend away with your friends. And having people in your life that you know love you enough to be honest with you, so that you can say to them, hey, I'm thinking about this, or I can't, I'm struggling with this issue. Can you tell me what you believe to be true in this? And then not having too much ego that you'll listen to what they say. Get help. Right? I don't think that they're really alone. I think that it can feel that way when you're in it. But like I said in the beginning, having lived the life of people who didn't seek help, I know the pain that's involved with that. Like, I really think that getting the help and talking to friends that you trust and going to professionals is absolutely the way to go. It's not a way to live life, being unwell.
Mental wellness to me means having a balance in your life that allows you to function optimally in everything that you do. Well, it depends on your personality and the kinds of things that you struggle with. If you're the kind of person that struggles with comparing themselves to other people, then I think social media can be really detrimental, because people are showing you the best that is happening in their life. They're not usually complaining. They're usually showing you how cool they are. And so it's easy for you to feel like your life is not good enough if that is your tendency. But for me, for example, what I use social media for is to stay in contact with the people that I love. My family who lives in another country, my friends from all over the world. And so to me, social media is a fantastic opportunity for connection. And that's what I use it for. So social media can be whatever you make of it. That's my answer. In school, well, I think that there are a lot of factors to consider there. Family backgrounds make a difference. Support from both your family and your friends. whether you are a person who tends to fit in or doesn't fit in. People who are different certainly have a hard time with their mental wellness in school because they tend to be ostracized. The point is, if you naturally fit in, you'll have an easier time in every way. Because if you have a family life that is negative and somehow abusive or in any way does not provide the support that we all need from the people closest to us, then it is going to affect your mental health and, in a negative way. And if you, on the other side, on the other hand, have the support that you need, the people who love you and accept you for who you are and will be behind you no matter what, then it's going to affect you very positively. So it depends. Everything is a balance. In many ways, positive and negative. I have had relationships in my life that have been detrimental to my mental health. And but I will say this, they have been detrimental in the moment, but everything is what you make of it. And so if you choose to grow through those things, then they will become a positive in your life. Everything that happens to you has the possibility of being a good thing or a bad thing. That is the way that I look at life. It's all about in your outlook. And I read this quote from a book by an author that I really respect. And every problem has a gift in its hands for you. You can choose to see the gift or you can choose to see the curse. And that choice will determine if your life is a success story or a complete soap opera. And that is exactly what I believe. It depends on what you do with your life and how you decide to look at life. Sometimes you need to have help in coming to that point, and I did. I needed help at a point in my life where I chose for myself to seek that help from a professional standpoint. And that helped me to come to the point where I am today. I think a lot of people think about their lives as if they had to be perfect from the beginning. And really, life is a journey of learning. And there are things that we know instinctively how to handle, and there are things that we have to go the wrong way in order to learn how to handle them the best. And sometimes we need help. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help. In fact, it's a very smart person who knows when they need help and asks for help. So that's what I believe. I would say talk about it, open up to people who love you. And if you don't have somebody who loves you that can listen to that, then seek out professional help in the way that you can. The important thing is not to keep it to yourself, because you may be struggling with something that may be easily fixable, but when you are in the midst of it, it's impossible to see it. And so the best advice I could give anyone in any kind of situation would be to seek help and to open up to people that they can trust, so that they can have somebody else's perspective on the situation, which is always enriching when we are in trouble. So it makes a big difference to make connections in life that allow you to have input for your life and for your own struggles. So
mental wellness means taking time to take care of yourself and mental being when something bad happens. It affects it in a good and bad way, because social media can be a way for you to better your mental wellness, but it also can be a way to bring your mental illness down by other people who flaunt like their success, and you could like sometimes become jealous of that. As much as we try to deny it and say that we don't, we really do. Yeah. I feel like the road to anyone who's struggling with it, I don't want to say that it does get better, but the journey to being well with your mind and well with who you are isn't easy, and it can be long and tiring, but everyone does get there. For better, I guess you could sometimes look at other people's situation and compare them to your own and think about how there's like small things that you do have and you should be grateful for that other people don't have. There was one relationship where I really beat myself up for it because certain things happened, and after that relationship ended, my mental health wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. As high schoolers, we care too much about what other people think about of us, so you know, our mind can like kind of stop us from doing things that we really want to do. It will get better. I mean, like the road to being like well and like happy with who you are and like how your mental state is not easy. It will take a long time, and so the journey to get there can be hard and it can be tiring, but I feel like everyone gets there and everyone can be you know,
It's okay to not be okay.
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 It's okay not to be okay.
It is okay not to be okay.
it's okay not to be okay.